three pairs of large salivary gland, including the parotid, the submandibular gland, and the sublingual gland. While there are lot of many more minor salivary gland over the hard palate, in the mucosa of the mouth, floor of mouth, tongue, soft palate, and the pharynx. But and they are unnamed glands. The parotid gland, which has a duct called the Stenson duct, open against the upper second molar, while the uh, submandibular gland open the duct called the Werthin duct in the floor of mouth, just at the side of the frenulum. Even you can see in the mirror this opening of this duct, because I believe that you people are also human, and this is also present in you people too. And there are a lot of minor salivary glands which are also producing the saliva. Uh, to study medicine without book is to sail an uncharted sea, while to study medicine only from book is not to go to sea at all. So this is what I was talking in the beginning. At the moment we are doing this second step, that without going to the sea, I am telling you, without going to the swimming pool, I am telling you how you will swim. I don't know how you will swim, even after my instruction. Function of the salivary gland, we all know that it's the lubrication, production of the antibodies, that the IgA. It has antibacterial effect because of that antibody and enzyme, and enzymatic degradation of the food substance. We all know that this digestion start from the oral cavity with that enzymes. So that's the first step of the digestion, start from the oral cavity. So these are the function of that salivary gland. Disease of the salivary gland can be divided into the inflammatory diseases and the neoplastic diseases. Inflammatory diseases, inflammatory diseases further divided into the infective and the autoimmune. These are both because of the inflammatory process, while the neoplastic further divided into benign and the malignant. The infective process or the infection further divided into acute and chronic, and autoimmune. There are a lot of autoimmune diseases which is primarily the part of some systemic disease like the Sjogren's syndrome, and along other symptoms and signs, you also find the signs and symptoms related to the salivary gland. Neoplasm, I believe that you know that the neoplasm can be benign or the malignant. Uh, what are the treatment we will discuss further, but please keep in mind this chart so that we can approach our patient with this chart in mind. It it definitely guide us about the treatment option for a patient and the investigation we order. So how to approach a patient? A 30-year-old man present with the swelling in the left submandibular region for last 2 months. For last 2 months. So first of all, with that noble approach of the medicine, you start with the history and ask for the patient. Now, when you are asking for the history, now see this chart. What you can ask, starting with the general biodata, and then further ask for the duration, size, is it increasing or not, is there pain, and the fluid intake of a patient. Now, keeping in mind all those questions, see this chart. For the inflammatory process, especially the infective, acute infective, you will find the history with very small duration of the history. While with the chronic, definitely the history is of more duration. While in cases of the benign and malignant, probably you will not find the pain in the initial stages. While with the inflammatory process, especially with the infection, you may find the pain more with the acute. You will see in the later in this lecture that what are the presentation. Examination, definitely you have to do the local examination of the area, either either as this parotid gland or the submandibular gland or any minor salivary gland, regarding the again regarding the again that the size of the tumor, mobile size of the lesion, mobility, margins of the of that specific lesion, any tenderness, to differentiate between the neoplastic and the non-neoplastic lesion, and further into the acute and chronic one. And after all these things, gathering all these information, you want to reach upon a diagnosis. uh, as we discussed earlier, that this is the important chart. First you have to see, start with the is that the salivary gland disease which we are talking about, and then in the same way try to categorize that specific symptom, that which symptom it's falling. And after categorizing, after finding that the area on this chart, you can make the diagnosis with more ease. Investigation, definitely the blood test if you are suspecting some infective process, inflammatory process, either the infection or the autoimmune disease. While there are lot of gadgets for the imaging, starting from the ultrasound, the X-ray floor of mouth, the cyanogram, the CT scan, and the MRI. It doesn't mean that you will do all the investigation in a single patient. It's the situation who will guide you what investigation should be used. And if you want to have a tissue diagnosis, either you will go for the fine needle aspiration cytology or the fine needle aspiration biopsy. And if it's not conclusive, then you have to go for the excision biopsy of that lesion. Treatment depends on again over the situation, that where your what is your diagnosis, and what is your diagnosis in this regard. So we start with the infections, that the sialadenitis, that is the I can, this is something misnomer, although this is sialadenitis, that the inflammation of the salivary gland, but we use more commonly this term for the bacterial and viral infection. Bacterial infection can be acute, or it could be recurrent or chronic. Viral infection are almost always acute. So if we are talking about the bacteria, we should know that what is the causative organism. Mostly it's the Staph aureus or Strep pneumoniae, or Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, Dr. Ahmed, I can hear you. आप प्लीज स्क्रीन शेयर कर दीजिए दोबारा. शेयर स्क्रीन का ऑप्शन आ रहा होगा आपके पास.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes sir, I can hear you. सर आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
MC 2023-021. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
यस सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही है.
Yes sir. सर आप अपना माइक अनम्यूट कर दें प्लीज.
Can you hear me?
Yes sir. Sir, can you hear us?
I have unmuted some of the mic, and those people can hear me?
यस सर.
Waqas,
Yes
can you hear
sir.
me?
Yes sir, I can hear you. सर आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Hello. Hello, MC 026. Hello, Waqas, can you hear me? नहीं, मुझे आप लोगों की आवाज नहीं आ रही है. जी, आप लोगों को मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes sir, आपकी आवाज आ रही है सर.
यस सर, आवाज आ रही है.
सर आपको हमारी आवाज आ रही है? सर आप स्क्रीन शेयर कीजिए प्लीज.
आप लोगों को वकास अगर मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो मुझे स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ऑन कर दें. वकास, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो आप स्क्रीन शेयरिंग ऑन कर दें मेरी.
यस सर, आपकी आवाज आ रही है मुझे.
वकास, आप लोगों को मेरी आवाज आ रही है तो मैं लेक्चर शुरू कर रहा हूँ.
ओके सर, ओके.
स्क्रीन शेयर हो गई है?
यस सर.
मुझे आप लोगों की आवाज नहीं आ रही है वकास. मुझे आपका लिखा हुआ तो नजर आ रहा है वकास इज टॉकिंग, लेकिन मुझे नजर नहीं आ रही है. इस पे मैसेज कर दें मुझे कि जी यस आई कैन स्टार्ट माय लेक्चर. थैंक यू। कोई इशू आए तो मुझे चैट के ऊपर ही मैसेज कर दीजिएगा। So with the sorry, this is the light problem here. So we start again. We start with this, that the aerobic bacteria which may cause this infection, that is the Salmonellitis. And among that aerobic bacteria, these include the Staph aureus, Strep pneumoniae, Strep pyogenes, Haemophilus influenzae, E. coli, Klebsiella pneumoniae, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and there are anaerobic bacteria which may cause this. And that anaerobic bacteria include the Peptostreptococcus and the Fusobacterium. So the most common gland which is affected is the parotid gland, because of that retrograde contamination from the oral cavity and the saliva stasis at the duct. Because we know that the Watson duct is the uh, uh, issue which may cause this. So that for the parotid gland, that the Sengstern duct that causes this, while the salivary gland, the submandibular gland, salivary gland duct, that is the Watson duct, which is the smaller and near the floor of mouth. So there are less chances for the submandibular gland for the Salmonellitis. So mostly affected gland is the parotid gland. Here you can see the swelling of the parotid gland. Risk factor again because of the dehydration, bad oral hygiene, especially in the old age, in old homes, chronic illnesses, HIV infections, sialolithiasis, or the drug which may cause the dehydration, like the diuretics, antidepressant, anticholinergic drugs. Bad oral hygiene and the poor dental hygiene is always a risk factor for this disease. Clinical presentation, as we discussed earlier, that for the inflammatory diseases, mostly it's the pain, which is the first thing, along with the tenderness, and you will find the hyperemia of that specific area or tender area, as we find like in the abscesses. So more or less, it's the first collection of the infection in the parotid gland. So you find all the things of the acute inflammatory changes. And you may find the pus coming out from either the Sengstern duct if is the parotid gland, or the Watson duct if it's the submandibular gland. Diagnosis is mainly the clinical diagnosis, but if you are suspecting that there is some collection, you should go for some simple investigation like the ultrasound. CT scan or MRI if the things are suspicious, if you are suspecting any underlying other disease, then the CT scan or the MRI justifies, otherwise the ultrasound suffices. FNSC again in those cases where you are suspecting some other pathology. Treatment is again hydration, and you have to start some antibiotic, either the clindamycin or coamoxiclav or second generation cephalosporin. Clindamycin is the better one because it covers aerobic as well, gram-positive aerobic as well as the anaerobic organisms. And we see that on the top of the list, the organisms are gram-positive organisms, and there are chances of anaerobic organism which may cause infection. So this is a BCQ which I will solve myself because I can't hear you. Which of the following plays an important role in acute parotitis? So dehydration is the main thing. A 60-year-old man present with the pain and tenderness of swelling of the preauricular area for 3 days after the gastrostomy. What is the likely diagnosis? Again, after gastrectomy, patient may develop the acute pancreatitis because of the dehydration. A 40-year-old man present with the acute pancreatitis despite 2 days of antibiotic, there is no clinical improvement. Which investigation you will follow? Ultrasound is the investigation of choice in this case to find that is there any abscess or collection which is making hurdle to resolve the infection. 35-year-old lady present with the fever, pain, and tenderness of swelling of the right submandibular gland for last 2 days. There is also calculus in the right lower mouth. How would you treat? So if there is a calculus in the submandibular gland duct, the solution is removal of that calculus. A 12-year-old boy present with the fever and pain in the left oral region for last 5 days on examination, there is diffuse swelling of the bacterial parotid which is slightly tender. What is the diagnosis? We'll discuss the probable diagnosis is the mumps, that is viral parotitis. But what is viral parotitis? Viral parotitis, as we discussed, is almost always is an acute infection. And the most common cause in this is the paramyxovirus. We commonly call that mumps. But it may also be cause of the influenza or the para-influenza virus or coccidiosis virus or the cytomegalovirus or the adenovirus. But it doesn't make much difference because the treatment of all the viral infection is almost same, that is the symptomatic. So you may find mostly it's the bilateral, but may present unilateral, and mostly you find tender and most involved area is the parotid gland, and you find a tender parotid gland or the tender preauricular swelling, mostly in the children. It's an airborne droplet infection with the incubation period of 2 to 3 days. But the mumps may cause may got complicated and ultimately end up with the meningitis or sensorineural hearing loss or pancreatitis, which is much rare, or very rarely it may end up with the orchitis and the sterility. The symptom is same as of the viral infection, that is the fever, generalized body aches, pain mostly increase with the meals because of the obstruction, and the saliva tends to accumulate there. Because of that reason, the patient complaining of pain while taking meals. Trismus may be present. As I told you that most in 75% of the cases there is the involvement of the bilateral gland. Diagnosis is the clinical, but you may go for the viral serology, which in my experience I never did. With the antibody S antibodies positive in the first week, with the you may find the V antibody several weeks after the infection, or even in cases of vaccination, because the MMR is the vaccination which used to do for the mumps. Imaging is not needed as the diagnosis is more of the clinical with the diffuse enlargement. Treatment is supporting rest, hydration, analgesic prevention. With the vaccine did with the MMR at the 12 month of the age. So MMR is measles, mumps, rubella. So if you will have a 6-year-old girl diagnosed with the mumps, you have to give her the analgesic to manage, and definitely hydrate, which is not the option here. For the chronic infection are either non-specific or the specific, and but the non-specific infection, they may occur either the recurrent acute infection or sialectasis, that is there is the problem in the anatomy or the of the duct, and a saliva stasis there, or sialolithiasis, which also which again cause the stasis of the secretion in this salivary gland. For the specific, that is the tuberculosis and the sarcoidosis. For the chronic infection, chronic inflammation of the salivary gland, again the parotid is the common one. Uh, the final outcome is the recurrent acute infection and the calculus. There are theories which explain that some people think that the stone causes the non-specific sialadenitis, while the other think that because of the chronic infection, there are chances of formation of the stones. Salivary duct changes is that there is the stricture, dilatation, progressive acinar destruction, lymphocytic infiltration may find. Again, stricture may cause chronic non-specific sialadenitis, and the chronic non-specific sialadenitis may cause the stricture. Here you can see the picture of the sialogram that is in of the parotid gland, in which the dye is injected through the Sunstein duct opening into the uh, into the ductal tree, and you see the how it outline on the X-ray, and you may find the dilatation or the strictures when you are going for this. Here you can see the multiple small stones with the same sialadenitis. Sialolithiasis. Sialolithiasis is most common in the submandibular gland because it's a seromucinous gland, and the calcium is higher in this duct secretion. Submandibular duct or the Wharton duct is a long duct with a tube end, and it may cause, because of this, there is more chances of the duct stone formation. Here you can appreciate the stone formation here just beneath the duct. Mostly the stone form in the duct or at the duct junction of duct and the gland. Chronic specific sialadenitis, either it's the tuberculosis in the immunocompromised patient, which is a rare, and the diagnosis is based on the FNSC or the biopsy. Same with the sarcoidosis, which is the non-gaseous